understanding what now in understanding what the rainbow reservoir frequencies are and how they interface with our planet, this is some of the information we released in KDDL2, and they've added some more information in the graph sequence that comes after this. So this was the relationship of M31 Andromeda, the Aquinas galaxy, to the Milky Way, which is actually the Procyon Phantom Fall galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy began 360 to 350 billion years ago with the fall of Procyon star from M31. So the Guardians have been saying all along, before it became a popular theory, well, not a popular theory, but before NASA started realizing there's a direct relationship with Andromeda and the Milky Way, the Guardians have been saying this all along, that the Milky Way originally, and all of the stars and planets in it, were originally part of Andromeda. So Andromeda is the home template that everything in the Milky Way originally came out of, including Earth. Now this is just showing the Cathara grid structures, which are the core template structures, particularly on the light body level. The one that's straight up and down, going this way, that is Andromeda. This is the portion of the quantum of Andromeda that had certain of its stars fall into reversal template and create a black hole, and spun off and formed the Milky Way galaxy. So this is the Milky Way at this tilt. We've always retained our connection to the M31 Andromeda galaxy through Earth itself, because at Earth is Stargate 3 in the universal set, and it also is connected directly to Stargate 3 in Andromeda. So there's a direct link in the templates between the Milky Way galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy through Stargate 3, and Earth is Stargate 3 on the galactic scale. So here it says, as the Milky Way galaxy originally fell and separated, which was started 360 to 350 billion years ago with the fall of the Procyon star from M31. When it fell from its home galaxy, M31, the M31 Andromeda galaxy represents the first externalization alignment, or first alignment, for all planets and star systems in the Milky Way galaxy. It is to the M31 first alignment that Earth's plasma body, plasma templates, and EM fields will progressively return through the course of the Krystal River failsafe host. Earth's return to the M31 first alignment will unfold in stages over the 900-year period of the planetary Krystal River failsafe host, and the alignment will continue from there to approximately 6520 AD Earth time. Okay, so this is giving us a little information here. And this was interesting. This photo here, image credit for depiction of Milky Way collision with Andromeda galaxy, artist rendering, is courtesy of the NASA website, because NASA is theorizing that they're watching the Andromeda galaxy here and the Milky Way galaxy. They are watching them progressively move closer together. And that's because the templates, that NASA doesn't talk about that part, but the Guardians are trying to explain it's because these templates were originally one, and they are destined to come back together. Now we will look at a little bit of what has been happening with the Mayan dark road that they refer to in the old Mayan legends and those kind of things, and what that has to do with this, and also what does these two templates coming back together in the collision between the Milky Way and Andromeda, what does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with the rainbow currents that are coming in now? So next one, please. Okay, we'll start with here. We also introduced this in KDDL2 briefly. What are Fermi bubbles? I don't know if you can see them clearly here. There's a big purple orb there, a big purple orb there. This is the center of the Milky Way galaxy, and that's the galactic plane of the Milky Way galaxy. In 2010, data gathered by the Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope revealed a new discovery. Scientists were surprised to find two enormous bubble-like clouds that extend 50,000 light years across the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way. And they're actually gamma ray bubbles, and they're not sure what they're for or how they got there or when they came. Basically, what you're looking at is the beginning of a vesica fold, which is referred to as the Fermi-Fall fold, where these two gamma ray bubbles pull in, form a vesica Pisces, and go into reversal and drag in the Milky Way galaxy. And that is part of the distortion field that has been for eons at this point in our in our galactic field, and we are in this galaxy, so it directly affects us. I'm not going to read all of this. I went into that part in KDDL2. So the Milky Way galaxy, path of Fermi-Fall fold. This is what the Guardians are saying we are looking at when we look at those photographs from the Fermi telescope. That's why they use the word Fermi to refer to the Fermi telescope images that in 2010 were released into the public domain. There's the other option, which is the path of re-evolutionary rise reconnection. And this is where Earth has the ability to reconnect to Andromeda, the original system and the original template, plasma template, that it fell out of. Next one, please. Yeah, here we go. Here we're going to look just briefly at the Mayan dark rift or dark road mythology. All right, this part here, this whole section here is an excerpt from the Complete Idiot's Guide to 2012, page 84, Google book. So I Googled to see what was out there on the dark rift or the dark road. We had talked about that in the freedom teachings a while back when we were explaining about the toral rift time distortion field and the black hole, the center of the Milky Way, and all of that. So it's nothing new to us, but just wanted to bring this to your attention. And we'll read just a little bit of this. Here's what this book said. The Milky Way galaxy is called a spiral galaxy. A spiral galaxy is one that spirals out from the center with streams that look like arms. It spreads out along an axis called the galactic plane. The Milky Way bulges in the middle, where the largest concentration of suns and solar systems live. In the very center is an area called the dark rift. Now, I've never heard dark rift referred to in this particular context. I thought it was kind of interesting. Where the dark matter accumulates. This is the first time I've heard that theory put out there. Thanks to NASA and the Hubble telescope, we have remarkable pictures taken in space of other spiral galaxies like our own. This helps us to know what our galaxy looks like, a benefit the Maya didn't have. From the side, it looks sort of like a disk with a bulge in the middle. Now, the dark rift. The dark rift is a feature flowing through the Milky Way galaxy. Clearly visible on a dark night, the rift divides the light-filled part of the Milky Way galaxy into two. Physically, it's a cloud of gas and particles that don't reflect light from the surrounding stars. It looks like a dark streak streaming into the galactic center. The Maya saw it as a two-way road. The road moving into the center was known as the dark road and led to a portal into the underworlds. I think they were a little closer to having an accurate definition of it with that, because it leads into the center of the Milky Way. The roadway out of the center was the birth canal, again correct, streaming out from the womb of the world, the Maya name for the center of the galaxy. Now, we have a black hole. NASA has been saying this for a while now. There's a black hole, a massive one, at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. The Guardians have also been agreeing with that and explaining that emerged from our fall from the Andromeda galaxy. So a lot of the information on the dark rift that's out there goes back to the Maya and their calendars and all of those kind of things. But the Guardians are saying that there is more to this. The Maya saw it as a birth canal, not just because it was a dark streak. They knew what it was. They knew it was a portal transit system between the black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy and what's at the bottom of it, and because there are systems on the other end of that, fall systems. And there was the road, if you're here on Earth and going back, that's where you're getting basically sucked into the black hole. And if you're coming out, you're incarnating out of the black hole systems and into our systems out here. So the Maya had a better understanding in regard to that than simply saying we're like like this particular author is saying, that the dark rift is where dark matter accumulates. It's a lot more than that. And the Guardians would like us to understand that, because from the dark road, the real dark road, which are the frequencies that are coming out of the galactic core, the galactic core in the Milky Way galaxy, that are attempting to swallow the Milky Way galaxy, draw it into template reversal, so eventually everything in the Milky Way as quantum will get drawn into that reverse system that's on the other side of the black hole. So this is like the image they give for the dark rift. I'm just showing that just to show that there's information out there from the Maya and those kind of things about the dark rift. There was a whole big thing about we're going to be crossing the dark rift on December 21st, 2012, and there was a whole bunch of, oh, it's going to be the end of the world and everything, and it wasn't, obviously. We came into certain alignments, but it really didn't have anything to do with the way they're describing it in the Maya. But we wanted to bring this in so we could understand or help to bring out the theory that not only is it just a bunch of clouds that are blocking the view of the light that's coming from there. There is actually a current of frequency. It's a portal set that emerges from the center of the Milky Way galaxy, where the it's called the Procyon black hole. It's called the Procyon phantom galaxy. That's what the Milky Way actually is, according to the Guardians. These frequencies are coming out, and at certain times they have been activated more fully. And in the last number of years, it is those frequencies that have caused the dark flowering in the planetary Templar. The dark flowering means those frequencies are coming out. They're coming through the dark rift from the center of the Milky Way black hole, coming through the dark rift, coming into other systems, including Earth's system. And it became more of a crisis situation in December of 2009. I think it was December 9th, 2009, when the Norway spiral incident occurred, where there's this big spiral in the sky that got written off as, oh, it was just a missile going, ballistic or whatever. It was more than that. We're not saying it wasn't a missile. Perhaps a missile assisted in opening the portal. But the Guardians have said that began the process of dark flowering the planetary Templar. It had already been happening in certain people on the planet that have gene codes that are more from the false systems than they are from the original angelic human species. So we saw some of that happening earlier than that. But on the planetary level, that began when a vortex was opened directly between the Milky Way black hole, the dark rift, and the planetary Templar on Earth. So we're going to look at that and see what that looks like, what the beings on the other side of the black hole of the Milky Way are attempting to do, and what the Krystal River host is actually about in relation to the frequencies coming in. And that's where we'll see where the rainbow currents are coming from and the significance they have. Down here, there was just another author wrote some things about, it was called the Maya Grand Cycle in the Dark Rift, and there's the the HTTP address and things. This one was from something called modernsurvivalblog.com. I just googled dark rift and see what came up and pulled the ones that looked most interesting, without having to spend hours of research. Their perspective is the dark rift. What is the dark rift? The dark rift, or great rift, appears to the eye as a dark streak that is positioned lengthwise through the bright band of the Milky Way galaxy, the galaxy we're in. It says, over part of its extent, stretching from the constellation Cygnus to Sagittarius. The dark rift blocks out our view of the central bulge of the galaxy about 28,000 light years away, which itself contains a massive 4 million solar mass black hole at its center. The dark rift is actually a mass of overlapping clouds made of interstellar dust and molecular gas located 300 light years from Earth. Modern infrared and X-ray telescopes can see through it to the other side. Okay, let's see if there's anything more interesting on this one. Let's see. This is just more, there's a lot of things talking about the like December 21st, 2012, and the grand calendar of the Mayans and all of that. And that's not the point that the Guardians are trying to bring attention to. It is the fact that the Mayans did know about this dark rift. They considered it the birth and death canal, where you come in and out from there, because that is what they were connecting with when they were getting their information. The Dark Rift has many Mayan mythic identities. It's the Black Road, the road to the underworld, a crevice in the branches of the cosmic tree, the Milky Way, the mouth of the cosmic monster, a jaguar or snake with tree-like features, the birth canal of the cosmic mother. So these are some of the things that the Mayan mythology had looked at the Dark Rift as. The Guardians look at it as literally a path that the frequencies coming out of the black hole at the center of the Milky Way take. And at certain times, they are more easily interfaced with certain planetary systems such as our own. And at this point, there have been, according to the Guardians, there have been specific portal systems opened directly into the planetary Templar in order to run those reversed template currents here to what the objective of the ones in the black hole were trying to do was trying to reverse Earth's planetary template, so it would be swallowed by the black hole. There's even some interesting things on the NASA site about the massive black hole at the center of the Milky Way eating local stars and those kind of things, so it's known as an eater, even in scientific terms. Next one, please. Can't really see this really well because once you photocopy it once, it tends to blur it out. But this again is that image of the Fermi bubbles. And I actually found that, and I think it was Scientific Today or something. It was one of the magazines that was, in the grocery store, on the science magazines. That's where I found the image. But you can find it all over the internet as well. But they look purple usually, and the printer made them look blue. But this is the Fermi bubbles in the dark rift. So here's the plane, the galactic plane of the Milky Way. Here's the natural plane of Andromeda that it fell from. So this being the galactic plane, where your big disk would be, formed on, and this would be the center, and this would be the black hole at the center of the Milky Way. You take that plane outward and run it through the galactic plane in that photo. So it's showing you that these Fermi bubbles are here and here. And when they get activated by certain things that are in the black hole, they will begin to pull together and contract into a vesica fold or a vesica Pisces. And that phase locks them together and turns them into what's referred to as the Death Star Merkaba. And that was the intention of some of the ones who reside in the black hole system, was to continue the life of its system by eating other living systems. And the Death Star Merkaba, with the vesica fold at its center, is the mechanics by which certain forces do that, certain beings do that. So if we want to see what the dark rift really is, it's a current of frequency coming from the center of the Milky Way galaxy and stretching out into Earth, because Earth is Stargate 3 in the Milky Way. It's Universal Stargate 3 in the Milky Way, Galactic Stargate 3 for the Milky Way galaxy. So that is the dark rift, and it's actually a current of frequency. The portion of it that was opened, now if we go back to the freedom teachings, we had taught a while back, and we've been teaching for ages really, that Earth is technically upside down. What we call the North Pole is actually not its North Pole, it's actually its South Pole, because the planet is literally tipped upside down on its natural axis. What would be its natural axis? It is upside down comparatively. So normally you would have this be Earth's natural axis in the Milky Way galaxy, and this would be north and that would be south, but it's not. This is north. So this dark rift current comes round and anchors in the North Pole, and it actually slithers up through what's called the Dark River. And it's from the Dark River that you get the dark gardens. And dark meaning the dark flowering gardens that are flowering the lotuses in the planetary Templar with that black tar frequency. That is the frequency that corresponds with the black hole system. So these are the frequencies that this part has been active for a bit, but it was opened, vortices were opened from 2009 forward, that allowed much more of the frequencies to come in order to they were trying to actually make it pole shift so they could drag it in. And that didn't work because of what the Guardians have been doing, multi-galactically. And now we can see where the Guardians frequencies, where the rainbow frequencies of the Crystal River failsafe host fit in, and what they're trying to do to counterbalance this. When we went on our little road trip down through the 6 countries in 9 days, we were up here in the north in Norway, and we did this leg of the journey, that little bit up in there. Before that, we had been to Svalbard, which is up in the Arctic Circle, and before that we had been through France and Spain and Andorra and Egypt, and there were some of us that were with the Freedom Teachings that were in Australia. So we actually were able to lay frequency of the Crystal River failsafe host all the way through this, but hadn't been activated fully yet. So what we did with our little road trip was connect the missing pieces so we could activate the rainbow currents to counterbalance this and to begin to inhibit the dark flowering in the planetary Templar, which will help to inhibit it within the epigenetic overlay of the human population, because it affects us directly through the epigenetic overlay, which is basically a chemical sheath on the DNA that controls how the DNA will operate and what it will do. And in our DNA, we have at this point in our evolution, because we have been interbred with so many different races, some of them from the false systems, we have DNA that will correspond to and wake up if it encounters the frequencies of the dark flowering, and we also have DNA that will wake up if it encounters the frequencies of the Crystal River failsafe host. So it's kind of a tug-of-war, an invisible tug-of-war on the DNA of not just humans, but the entire life field on this planet, but particularly for humans, because we have both sets of coding in our DNA at this point. So we're dealing with the planetary grids that are running the dark rift currents directly from the center of the Milky Way. And there's good news to that, and that's what the Crystal River failsafe host is about. Next one, please. This was really quick. I didn't have time to make them perfect. We didn't have time to do them on the computer or anything. But this one's showing the path of re-evolutionary rise, reconnection, which is the Crystal River failsafe host path, and the path of the Fermi Fall fold. So here, again, is that dark drift current that is attempting to drag Earth and our solar system into the Milky Way system. It's actually trying to use Earth to drag the entire Milky Way galactic plane into the black hole system. But here in Andromeda, remember, this grid corresponds to the Andromeda galaxy, which was originally called the Aquinas galaxy of M31 that Milky Way fell out of. Here are the frequencies coming down from the Crystal River failsafe host. We have this is actually pink. You can't really tell what the photocopier does with the colors of the pens, but you have one coming down here, and then the blue one coming down here, and they're actually holding it, and there's stronger frequencies. These actually come through what's called the density 3 lock between density 3 and density 4 in the Andromeda system, and they go back beyond that, and they connect into another smaller galaxy called Triangulum. And NASA knows about Triangulum. They say Triangulum is moving with Andromeda toward collision with the Milky Way galaxy. That's because they're all interwoven in the same templates. So the frequencies are coming down through the density 3 lock in Andromeda and coming down directly through into Earth. Now this again is where Earth connected directly through core template to the galactic Stargate 3 in Andromeda, which is called Eartha. So that's our Eartha connection. Now, if things had not gone as badly with the dark rift frequencies coming in, we, for a while in the Freedom Teachings, were teaching the path of the Ansanstatia passage, which would have actually climbed from here and gone from this part of the Milky Way and shifted angular rotation and particle spin of Earth gently so it could align with Andromeda again. But when these currents began to flow at a certain level, it cut off the Ansan passage and actually reversed it. And that's right here is where it cut it off when these started to come in at a frequency, strong enough that it reversed that passage. So it reversed this part of it, so it couldn't connect into there. And that's when we ended up progressively going into the Crystal River failsafe host, not just the Crystal River host. So what the remedy to that was the failsafe, which would bring the larger frequencies of the pink fire and the blue ice frequencies down through the density 1 lock, density 3 lock in Andromeda. Now, for people who have taken the KDDL2 course, it will make sense. If you haven't, don't worry about it. If you want to learn it, it's in that course. But we talked about how if on the external Panclara, which is the chelantic side of creation, if you have your, say, number 12 gate up here, number 1 down here, it would be the opposite in the deity planes of Panclara, where the electromagnetic frequency spectra run upside down to each other. So this, in the deity planes of Panclara, would actually be the density 1 lock, the Iyumbi lock. But on this side, it's in Andromeda, it's the Andromeda density 3 lock. When Earth begins its journey, and it's a long journey, where it actually gets pulled out of the fall into the Milky Way black hole, it will go up through here so that it can retain form solidification, because it will pop out in density 1. It's a density 1 planet down here. It can ride these frequencies up, go through that lock in the protected frequencies, and then pop up in density 1 in the deity planes. So that's why we're able to actually do the median Earth link with Earth here. So that is what the Crystal River failsafe host is about. So the rainbow frequency currents, the rainbow plasms, are coming down through here they step through the Panclara deity planes, and they step down to those from the Panicoletta, and they step down to the Panicoletta from the Panicolera. So it's those 3 spectra of massive frequency that we've been talking about with the Fe infinitum structure that is coming down through Andromeda. And this is what this is why we need the Crystal River failsafe host, because this was going to progressively reverse the entire template of this and drag it down and eat it like black holes do. And that was not going to be permitted because of the life field on Earth and because of the history of Earth as being one of the last remaining planetary bodies. It used to be a star body that's still connected to the M31 galaxy. What the ones in the black hole were really hoping for was they could first get the Milky Way galaxy fully in, and that would give them more quantum and more pull. And then they were hoping to use that connection to drag in Andromeda as well, because they're trying to feed their system so it doesn't go into, if a black hole doesn't continue to eat, it gets to a point where it goes into quantum compaction because it has nothing else to eat, so it starts to eat itself until it finally implodes and explodes and goes back as space dust. And that's what they're trying to avoid in their system by eating other living systems. But that breaks the organic eternal rules of how physics work in galaxies. And when that happens, the Crystal River failsafe host gets triggered. So this is what we're looking at, and this is where the rainbow frequencies are beginning to come in now. Next one, please. Okay. Now, the process or the dynamics by which we are reconnecting to our original connection of Andromeda is through a process that's called magnetic reconnection, which is the same process basically that we've described before as solar symbiosis, where there is this organic link of plasma flows that's supposed to flow between a sun and its planets in its system, and also there's transgalactic solar symbiosis, which means from one galaxy to another. So if you look at solar symbiosis or magnetic reconnection as the reconnection of plasmas, between bodies, be it the sun and the planets around it, or between one sun and another sun, or between one galaxy and another galaxy. This is a photo, but it doesn't come out very well on the transparencies, but it was this one was from Wikipedia, and it's a photo of magnetic reconnection on the sun. And that's where you see those plasma arcs. They're referring to that as magnetic reconnection. What's really interesting is there's been a number of explorations by both NASA recently and by the European Space Agency earlier that were studying what magnetic reconnection is in relation to our Earth's magnetic field and the sun and the plasmas there. So the scientists are aware of it to some degree as well. So the Guardians wanted us to understand that we're reconnecting on a transgalactic solar symbiosis or transgalactic magnetic reconnection of plasmas between the Milky Way galaxy and specifically Earth and the Andromeda galaxy that we originally fell from. And there's also a connection with Mintaka Orion in the Milky Way galaxy. That is also a planet or a star that has the ability to connect into the Krystal River failsafe host. So beings that don't manage to pick up the host here, when they transition from whatever their natural causes are here of a limited biology, they will still have an opportunity to pick up the Krystal River failsafe host if they so choose by going and incarnating through the Orion system. It'll be a different a different human type form, a different density level, but they would still be able to get out. So there is another choice this isn't the final call. The Orion alignment would be the final call for missing or not missing the Krystal River failsafe host back to Andromeda. So those are just showing magnetic reconnection. Next one, please. Okay. Now, all of these things were going to be part of session 2 recap, because we were going to recap the most important things that were shown in KDDL2 to get us to the point where we could do the 2 techniques that were involved in session 2, which we'll be now doing with session 2 in Florida. So I won't go into all of this. This is just to show you these, basically. So these are the 5-layer ephemeral capsule reconnection vehicles and the planetary activation schedule. So I'll do a brief on it, where we have here what's called the Silver Seed Panclara Elacian cycle here. And it goes from May 29th through June 10th, 2015 through 2317 AD. And this is the silver seed cycle that we're talking about. So we were going to begin the embodiment of the silver seed and the activation of the corresponding Merkaba and those kind of things. Now with each layer of seeds, you have the silver seed here and the first layer of the transplanial Merkabas. Then here, the next cycle is called the golden silver seed cycle, and we covered this extensively in KDDL2, so I'm just going to touch on it now. The golden silver seed cycle is the next layer. This one corresponds with the Panclara system. This one corresponds with the Paniculata system. And this one, the third cycle, corresponds with the Paniculaira system, that big one. And this one's called the platinum seed cycle. And each one of them have their level of transplanial Merkaba structure that forms as the seeds activate and the various components of the anatomy activate and those kind of things. So Earth is going to go through these stages, not just the people on it. There are 2 other stages of transfiguration, and each one of these is a stage of transfiguration. This one corresponds, the silver seed corresponds with the Adashi 1 cycle, the Adashi return cycles that we talked about in the freedom teachings. Silver seed corresponds with Adashi 1. gold and silver with a dashi 2, platinum with a dashi 3. Then there's 2 final transfiguration cycles called the ephemeral cycles, and they're much larger cycles that usually all this happens very slowly over thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But because of the Crystal River fail-safe host, the necessity of it, so this system didn't go down into the black hole, entrainment where we couldn't get back out. These are all beginning a very rapid activation instead of taking, thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of years to do them. So we're going to be when we do session 2 in Florida, we're going to be doing the silver seed embodiment. We already began the silver seed awakening, which is the beginning of that cycle. We're going to bring it to the end of that cycle so we can do the gold and silver awakening next and just get these frequencies, and all of these correspond with the Trua flows that we've talked about, the Trua body flows. All of the Adashi cycles were about bringing the Trua body frequencies in and activating the Trua body, be it on a planetary level, a galactic level, or a personal level. So we also have those 2 ephemeral cycles that I talked about. Now, the dates of these, we have this one goes from basically May 29th of 2015 through 2317 AD. So that's 300 years. Then we have one from 2317 AD to 2617 AD. That's another 300 years for the planetary level, the gold and silver seed. Then from 2617 AD to 2976 AD, you have the platinum cycle. So there's the 3, 6, 900 years of the Crystal River fail-safe host on the planetary level. And then you have the 2 larger cycles, the 2976 to 4158 AD is the next one, the Aphaea cycle on the planetary level. And then up to 6520 AD is where you have the Ephemation cycle, and that's where we would do the return to Andromeda. So this takes a long time on a planetary level. But for the life forms on the planet, if they don't catch the waves in the beginning, these frequencies in the beginning, their biology will, and their templates will entrain with the fall currents that are pulling from the core of the Milky Way galaxy. So that's why now is the time that the Guardians are bringing us this information so that we can begin to run the frequencies that will begin to speak to our DNA in a way that entrains us with where we want to go if we want to go back home to Andromeda and to the transfiguration factor, which is the eternal life imprint. So here there are what are called the ephemeral capsule reconnection vehicle. So it is through building these progressive frequency things, and they're built on the shape of the Amareya Merkaba structures that we talked about in the freedom teachings, but they're much, much stronger energy. They are bringing the transplanial energies in. This one would be bringing the energies in from the Panclara matrix. So when we're doing the silver seed cycle, we're activating this one, and this one has the blue frequencies coming down from the top, which are the blue ice frequencies, and it has the pink frequencies, the pink fire, coming up this way. When we move to the next cycle, we have the opposite. You have the pink frequencies coming up. The pink frequencies are actually coming down like this, and the blue are going up. And that builds the next phase of it. So you have this, it builds this. The next one is where they go together, and another layer of them forms. And I wouldn't doubt if that ends up violet. I'm not sure. They didn't show me like the extensive of how the capsules work yet. After this, then this is the planetary level ones. Then this is the planetary level one. Then it starts to connect into the larger galactic one, where it connects into Orion, and then Andromeda, where it's our connection capsule into Andromeda. And then finally, in the last part, the Ephemation cycle, where the planet pulls up into the center and realigns itself into the matrix through these reconnection vehicles, the reconnection capsule. So as we're building the Merkaba structures, and as we're embodying the seeds of which are like little minute bits of frequency corresponding to the matrix, the deity planes matrix that they connect to. So as we're building the Merkabahs and activating those, we are also building this capsule of plasma frequency around us that allows us to progressively make that plasma magnetic reconnection to the Andromeda system. So these are the planetary level ones and the dates that go with it. Ours will, on a personal level, they happen a little bit faster, but they also have to be in synchronization with the planet. So Earth Sync is about getting our biofields, our DNA, all of it in synchronization with the stages the planet is going to go through. Next one, please. Okay, here. The Panakai Passage, planetary cathedral complex, and the 3 Krystal bridgeway sites. So we've seen this before. This is the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5 cathedral complexes of the Cathedral Gate Network. Here's where we are right now, down in the Norway complex in Oslo, which is Cathedral 3, Temple 1. Down here is what we refer to as the Reyes Peninsula, and that's where we have some of the activations that have come through in this cycle while we were here, and showed you some of that in the beginnings, or actually in the end of KDDL2. We brought some of those in because that's why they'd sent us over here to Norway to work with these. In 2012, we'd actually gone to Svalbard to begin dropping the frequencies that would later connect with these. There's another peninsula that's near Oslo that has the dark grids running because they're reversed at the moment, and that's because they're being held in reversal by this other one. And they never identified that until recently, until now, which we will see as we progress further, because they just cleared this site, and that will help to clear this one, and that won't clear for a while, but it will allow this network to do what its job is, which is opening the Panakai Passage. The Panakai Passage is this large chi wave here, this one that goes up this way, and then the 2 that go over that way. Okay, their frequency flows from the Panakai wave field, the eternal Panakai wave field. And here we have the Temple 1 complex, and that is the Florida complex, where we have the Temple 1 is at the center here, and that's in Mayaca, Florida. Temple 2 is actually in Mayaca Lake, Florida, which is near there. Temple 3 is Sarasota, Florida, which is also near both of these, and that's also called the Gruel Point, which is Planetary Stargate 2. And then there's 2 more over here, and I believe this one was identified as St. Petersburg, Florida, and this one is Nassau in the Bahamas. So what we've been doing is opening this passage, the one that goes from Florida to Norway, because that is the most important layer of it, because from here it not only connects into the planetary level 2, the Machu Picchu grids in Peru, but this is the point where it connects into what would be Orion and then eventually Andromeda. So when we're opening this bottom part of the Panakai Passage, it's in order so the Florida grids can anchor directly the Orion currents and the Andromeda currents and bring them right down through into the Oslo currents, into the Norway currents, and that will allow them to run through the Templar. There's been a problem with the with opening the Panakai Passage, because over here, this is the Egypt complex at Cathedral 5, the center, and that has been being controlled by Kaisite, what's called Kaisite 6 in Tuscany, Italy, and it controls the upper part of Cathedral 5, and it has been holding it in reverse. And there's also Kaisite 7 in Paxos, Greece, and it controls the lower part of 5, and part of that is also reversed. So what we were doing, and didn't know until we got back on our road trip, was assisting to clear this, so it will progressively begin the clearing of these grids in order to clear the Egypt grids and those kind of things, and to allow the horizontal of the Panakai Passage to open on the planetary level. We had to clear the Tuscany mess that was holding it into reversal, and that has to do with what they're referring to as the Dark River grids. They come from the Dark Rift frequencies, and they come down from the north and run all the way down through through the planet, and they run through the old world or the European grid set. And that's what we've been progressively working to bring the rainbow frequencies into little bursts of it until it was time to fire them and make the whole thing open up and bring the rainbow frequencies in. And that's what was done during this trip. And immediately thereafter, when we came back to Oslo and to the Reyes Peninsula to finish anchoring those frequencies after we made the loop through those locations. Next one, please. Now this one's just showing, yeah, just look up here. I'm not going to read that because I actually read that stuff off of the chart that showed all of them. This is where the planetary magnetic reconnection capsule builds. That's the first one that goes with the silver seed set. That comes down from Florida. The big part is up there. Comes down into Oslo, into the Norway grids. Next one, please. This would go with the gold and silver seed set. And that one goes from Oslo up to the Florida grids. Next one, please. This one goes with the platinum seed activations, and that's where that the next layer capsule forms and solidifies both of those into, it's literally a frequency capsule, and it's through this frequency capsule that we don't have the diagrams for these yet, but this is where this will connect in not only to Machu Picchu, which the grids are a bit not doing well there either, but it will connect into Orion Mintaka and then into Andromeda as we progress, you know, through the Crystal River host period. So right, we're building these three first, the top one, then the bottom one, then the one that surrounds both of them. Next one, please. Okay, this is where we get into the Ashayana cycle. That's after the first three, which would correspond with the Adashi cycles. Then we get into the Ashayana cycle. And that's when these grids start to open. The big one, the big magnetic reconnection vehicle starts. And this is where these points start to link in to Orion Mintaka and to Andromeda. And they come through directly and they anchor here first in this section here. And this is where the frequencies come that will actually, at the end of the affirmation cycle, the last of the 5 transfiguration cycles, will draw Earth up into Andromeda alignment. Next one, please. And that's showing this, where it was down here before, remember, between the Florida grids and the Norway grids. And that will actually be the frequency set that pulls the planet up and through and into the into Andromeda alignment, so we can cross over the Andromeda density 3 gate into density 1 of the Panclara-Deity planes. So it's a long process, and it's very complicated information in terms of what science here knows, and the Guardians are trying to help us understand what we're walking around in, basically. Again, it's theoretical, but to the Guardians it isn't. They're trying to help us help ourselves and understand. It's like trying to explain to someone back in the caveman period what a cell phone is. So it's kind of that way for them. But this is the best they can do right now to help us understand what is taking place with those alignments and with the rainbow currents coming in. The rainbow currents coming in is very important because it allows for that dark river set of grids that were running down from the North Pole all the way down to the South Pole through Europe that were fully anchoring in the dark rift spiral. Now it will actually also run rainbow. It won't completely wipe out the dark spiral, which leaves open the option for those who do want to not take the Crystal River failsafe host. They can go back where they came from the matrices they came from in the black hole system. But it also allows people who want to take the host to have the availability of those frequencies where their epigenetic overlay isn't getting hijacked right out from under them, and they're not being given a choice. So the DNA will actually respond to both sets of frequencies. If a person has more of the frequencies that are in the reverse template that correspond with the black hole system, then that will be a dominant force pulling on them. But at least they will have the opportunity to bring in the rainbow forces if they want to.